Hey, beautiful, wonderful people, a pleasant evening to you. Now, darlings, wonderful people, we have really like sheep gone astray, and we are corrupt at heart. There's two things that I never thought I would see in this 21st century, but I shouldn't be shocked, because the Bible does talk about, well, a generation of vipers. Needless to say, that each generation could say the same about the next generation. But when I see one, men have no qualms in publicly shaming, humiliating, and disrespecting women with their words. Not to say I'm supporting women doing that to men. I'm just saying how I see the culture vastly changing. Men who consider themselves straight, heterosexuals, and they have no qualms in really sending her places that she never dreamed that, somebody could actually go to. That's one. Two, and it's fun, it's two vulnerable groups that I see being bashed by both men and women. The two vulnerable groups are women, they're part of the vulnerable groups, and children. Now, apparently, there is a young couple on the internet, and they posted a picture of the baby, and the comments were horrendous. They were malevolent, they were vitriolic, they were completely negative, unwarranted, unfounded. And I think that these people who make these comments, they are beyond broken. There is, I don't know, it must be an evil spirit that is just walking with them day in, day out. And only God can deliver them from such evil, because I cannot understand how a human being can comfortably look at a baby, be the baby, whether the baby is ugly or pretty according to your standards, and to lambaste the parents or the baby. Do you realize how when God says, if you harm any of these, he's talking about little ones, innocent ones, it is better that you put a noose around your neck and jump off into the sea? When the children were coming to Jesus because they felt so elated and they felt excited by this man that everybody's saying, who is this man? And they're running to him, and the disciples are trying to push them off. He said, suffer not the little children to come unto me, forbid them not. For unless you are like these little ones, you will not make it into the kingdom. You will not make it into the kingdom. Do you see how humble they are? Do you see how just playful they are, how loving they are? Do not harm any of these children. How do you feel comfortably, even if you think it? Are you aware that not every truth is meant to be spoken? There is this thing where people feel that because it is truth, I don't know if it is truth, I don't know if it is not, And when I saw a picture of the baby was not ugly. Even if you're going to go by the universal standard of what ugly is and what beauty is, the baby was not ugly. I heard a girl saying something, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist in some sense. She said it's because the baby's dark skinned, and I may want to almost agree with her and lean to what she says, and the reason why I'm coming with this is that let's call it a pandemic, because it hits let's call it an epidemic. The reason why I said pandemic speaks to the world being affected, but I think it's a world being affected, but it's an epidemic in our country, where when we see black, there is something subliminal, in us, where we think after black comes ugly, or sometimes fat, black, ugly. There is something that is seen to be associated with black. When we think of black, we think of something evil. If you're even watching, let's just say, I don't watch horror shows, but every now and again I might glimpse on some of those sci-fi movies. And when they're doing their ritualistic things, they're in a black thing, a black hoodie, outfit, black, something dark. And they consider us the black race. Although, I'm laughing at it because I'm looking at this shirt is black, and I'm considered to be a part of a black race. So look at the shirt and look at my hand. I'm not saying that we're technically not black, it's really brown, but I'm saying that it has been so demonized that whether or not we're literally black like this or not, people don't even want to be associated with it as it relates to race because of the negative connotation. I have on this ring, it's pink. I remember I had a black one. I mean, I love colors. I wear any color at all. So whether you consider black neutral or a color or whatever, you know. And I remember people would start to say, I wonder if it's an Obia ring and you know, D. Lawrence, and you're like, what? What? So a man thinks, so is he. The devil has tricked many people to think that we fight against black and white as opposed to dark and light. He has tricked us into believing to think that we're fighting against black and white as opposed to darkness versus the light. It is not about black and white. God, in his infinite wisdom, knew why he made, whether you want to call it the literal as this color or not. But you know, we just have to converse as people. So you know, we have to call things so that we can have a healthy conversation, so we can understand and communicate effectively. So whether it is a black race or not, the reality is that God made us as a people, some with different shades, but he made us as a people to appreciate it. I remember a lady told me, I don't know if it was Mexico, somewhere in Mexico, she had gone, and she said the darker the skin tone is, it's like you are a god to them. They loved it, they appreciated it. I'm like, she said they were so in awe of the dark skin. It was something heavenly and godly for them, something precious. I've often said, you know, I have a colleague, you know, he's dark skinned, and I said, I remember when he was talking with another colleague and he was saying he's older, or the colleague was saying he's younger than me, and I'm saying, really? I was shocked. And it's not the first, second, or third I've seen this. The darker you are, the more youthful you tend to look. And it is as though you live even longer. Like the melanin is so rich and vibrant in the body that you look good and you live longer. But the devil has tricked us into thinking, and he has used white supremacists, even black people, to think that once you see black, what follows that? Either fat and ugly. Or if you're not fat, even if you're skinny, you're black or ugly. Black goes with ugly. And I'm talking about dark skin. And so I can't even blame the girl for thinking it's because of the color. Because when they show the baby, I'm saying, wow. And when you even look at our commercials, think about it. When it's rare that you may see a black child, and if the child looks very dark, if you're not careful, you start to go down the road because it's something that is systemic. It affects us all, and we need to admit the truth, my beautiful people. It affects all of us. That is why we have, you know, people doing all kinds of things to themselves to stay away from black. Because what comes with, and I remember growing up, I always would hear people say, anything with too black, no good. And you know what the enemy did? My God, he sent the broken ones my way. The broken ones at heart, who are dark, and because they're going through a lot, they display qualities that are unwholesome, that are unseeming, that are negative, and you start to wonder, oh my God, I'm wondering if that theory is correct, if that hypothesis is true. Until reality hits, I've come across what you call red skin, light skin, fair skinned people who are similarly not good. It has to do with how you were raised. And that is where I'm coming from. The generation, the parents, whether my generation older, a little bit younger, I don't know if the kinds of conversation that they have, there is no boundary, there is no discipline. They don't teach their children decorum. That you don't say certain things about people. So what is happening is that the younger generation and some of the older ones, they come on the social media, they hide behind a camera, and they just air out everything that they feel. The Bible says, he that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life. It may not just be physical, but it can be social, spiritual, psychological, mental, financial. Not every truth needs to be spoken, if it is true. And it was not true, because I saw the child. And I'm saying that if you call that child ugly, then if the child is really hideous, what would you have done? You'd have annihilated them. Be careful of what you're saying about children and what you're doing. Even if you think it, you don't need to say it. Nobody needs to know that you're thinking that. God is going to judge many of you and hold you dearly accountable. You better pray that when you have your child, that your child is not hideous and looks like Smeagol. Guys, you know what to do with TikTok and YouTube. Subscribe, give me a line. Thank you.